Hi, Donna here, or as some of you that may actually know me, my name is Needom. That's my pen name, and I'm doing the interview for my Romance Lounge. I'm honored that I was asked to do it. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, the first question is: do you remember when you first realized you wanted to write? Um, I would say high school, but I did enjoy writing when I was in elementary school. The very first thing I ever really remember writing creatively was a project that I had in fifth grade, and we had to pretend to be something, an inanimate object, for a day. The example was a paperclip. So I took it up a notch and decided to become a McDonald's French fry. And what I did was I wrote the little paper, I cut it all out to look like fries, and I put construction paper on the cover. And then I had my mom take me up to McDonald's to get one of the red boxes. So I put my project in there, and it was a whole little thing and a whole little project with the fries and all, and that was kind of fun. And I got an A+ on it, so that was cool. That was like the first time I really, I guess, remember writing something that stood out in my mind, because I mean that was a whole concept and creation, because I created the whole project. The other, other than that, I used to sit there and watch TV, and I would insert myself in the stories, which is really wrong, but I'll date myself here. There was a show called Heart to Heart, and they never had a kid, but hey, I wanted to be part of their family. Thought it would be really cool. So Battlestar Galactica, all those things I would insert myself in, and if I had a sheet of paper, I would draw and put little people on the lines of the paper, make a little apartment complex. And so I would create all these stories in my head. But I didn't really commit them to paper all the time. It was just mainly in my head. So what was the inspiration for finally writing your first story? When I finally decided to write my first story, I was in high school, my second high school, because we had moved in the middle of my high school career. And my new friend, she and I liked this one band, and they were our favorite band. So she was writing fan fiction about them. Well, our favorite band, plus she also was writing fan fiction for Motley Crue as well. But anyway, so she would insert us in these stories, and I was sitting there thinking, well, wait a second, she's doing this, I can do this, I certainly can try to do this. So that's what I did. I created fan fiction, and it was fun. I mean, back then we didn't call it fan fiction, it was just, oh, we're writing a story. So that was the first one. And it says here, how many times did you rewrite your first book? The first book is in a blue tub in my office, and it is not worth consuming by anybody. However, some of the characters and some of, I guess, situations, well, not really. That would be maybe the third book I wrote. Those characters and situations kind of moved along. The first book, nah, nothing's really there, and I mean, I can look at it and go, no, that's not really what happened, because it was a high school fantasy. Second book I wrote was with one of my roommates, and we did that. We both had our own version of the story. And then the third book, it just morphed, and it kept going. And I started that one in 1988, and I've taken pieces of that and used them. But that one will never actually, I don't think that one will actually ever make it to publication. Tell us about the journey of your first published book. The journey of my first published book is my days with the Dark Muse. If you look up here, the first version was actually a spiral bound. There's only 3 of those in existence. And then there's this little nugget. This is actually the book that originally was that. And then, not that you need to see all this, but, and then there was this one. And that has my husband on the cover. And then there's the current one. But let's go back to this one for a second. So my husband started dialysis, I think, in 2015. And I was stuck at Barnes & Noble at the time because he was in dialysis 3 times a week for 5 hours. And I had to try to figure out what I was going to do, because we lived 20-something miles away from where he had dialysis at. So, and he couldn't drive. So I would sit there and write, and sometimes I would get really bored. And I would be working on that 30-year story. And sometimes you get writer's block. So what are you going to do? So the character of Nigel, who was just a side character, he was married to Ava in the story, basically comes to me and says, hey, I got an idea, marketing idea, great marketing idea. I'm like, okay, fine. And yes, you can think I'm crazy that my characters come, but I know a lot of writers that this happens to. So he ends up coming to me and he's like, I got this perfect idea. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I create a blog and I start writing his daily diary. And as I'm writing this, his daily diary was basically about his addiction and his spiral, his downward spiral. There were 74 chapters online. And I was having rehab centers follow me and like the post. And I'm thinking, I'm telling my husband, I'd laugh about it because I'm like, how can they actually think this is real? So at a certain point, it was just like, well, I'm going to pull this. And so I did. And I decided to turn it into a book. Well, as I said, I'm at Barnes & Noble. And when you're at a place for so long, you end up getting to know people. And so when you get to know these people, you find out things. And the store was going to end up closing, but they had one more new writer's night. And so I signed up. Now, mind you, this is not even a book yet all the way. I mean, it's almost there, but it's not quite there. So I had this whole idea how the book is going to end. And of course, once again, I just like, no. I got a better idea. It was. But so I have to get this finished. So I finished it in April of 2019. And yes, you guys can cringe and that's fine. This is not an edited book. I've had some friends look at it and edit it, but it was not professionally edited. And I admit that. And I have, I think, 80 something copies of this book. I did the cover myself, so yes, that's kind of crappy. And in fact, that's a picture of me and my stepdaughter. Because I figured the guy in his cocaine-fueled addiction would just want to take his razor blade and scratch out the pictures of his marriage and his family. So anyway, fast forward, I decided to release it to celebrate my wedding anniversary. So Nigel's birthday is coming up, or this book's birthday is coming up on May 13th. And so I go ahead and I order copies and everything, and my author copies get there the day of the signing. They arrive like an hour and a half before they're actually I'm supposed to be at the signing. And what New Authors Night is a bunch of authors, like I think 6 or 8 of us, were there in the cafe, and we got to sign autographed copies and sell our books. So it was kind of cool. I got to say I did a signing at Barnes & Noble. Granted, it's not the end-all be-all signing, but I got to say I was in a signing. But so it was kind of, it's horrendous to look back and say, well, this book is so badly edited. And then, insult to injury, 3 days later, the Vampire Convention from the originals and Vampire Diaries was in town, and Joseph Morgan had been his portrayal of Klaus had inspired a little bit. So I took the book. I had signed up to meet Joseph Morgan, and I was talking to Joseph, and when he signed one of my DVDs, he told me a story, and I said, by the way, you helped inspire my character. He was part of it. He's not all of it, but so I'd like to give you a book. So I did. I gave Joseph Morgan a book. So as crappy as it is, I still managed to do it. So I was kind of happy about that. But yeah, part of me cringes now because it's like, you didn't put your best foot forward, but you actually had the nerve to do it. So that was if I could go back in time, I guess I would make some changes because it would be nice if it was better edited. But it was published and I had it edited, and then after my husband passed, I re-edited it. So, it's a long story, sorry. What is your work schedule like when you're writing? Now it depends. It depends on if I have podcasts to do or editing to do, and I'm kind of, it depends on how I'm feeling and stuff too. So now I would say that if I'm up to it and everything's going well, I usually start around 7 at night if I can help it, sometimes earlier. And usually I will write anywhere between till about 10:30 to 1 o'clock in the morning. It just depends on how good I am. This month I think I've written 7,000 words. Last month I wrote 60,000. So it all depends. It just depends on how things are flowing, if I'm connected, those things. And the next question is, where do you find your inspiration and ideas for your books? real life and experiences in a lot of cases, and I would say some of it comes intuitively. You know, when I say the characters are coming to me, uh, like my days with the Dark Muse, the way it ended, the way it was supposed to end was that his daughter ends up having his diary and he's gone. And she writes the last chapter. That was my intention. But as I'm driving along, you know, here's the thought that pops in your head going, I have a better idea for you. Okay. So when I ran with the idea, you know, I'll give every idea a fair shake. And it worked out fine. So I think that they come really intuitively. It's not so much that I sit there and go, okay, I let the ideas come, and if it feels right, I write it. And if it doesn't, I don't. But some things do play out from real life. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. There is a lot of life experience, either mine or from other people, that I've connected with and write. And I've even had the fun experience of writing something and then watching it play out for somebody else. You know, like that movie Stranger Than Fiction. So that's always interesting. Let's see. How many books have you written? I've written 5 books. 3 of them are in various stages of being unpublished. Actually, 6 books. So 3 of them, there's 2 that's finished. And 2 that will never see the light of day. And then 2 that I'm working on. Actually, there's 7, because there's one more that the blue tub book is 1 too. So yeah, so there's 7. One's a paranormal romance. Well, it's maybe a romance. It was the Vicious Seduction winner. It was one of my short stories. So, I also have 2 vampire short stories published, and in an anthology that's no longer in print. Sorry, I had 5 hours of sleep. So I apologize. What do you like to do when you're not writing? I like talking to my friends, actually. I spend a lot of time on the phone when I can. So connecting with my friends is a very important thing. You would think I was a high school girl, but no. Sometimes watch TV and watch DVDs of things that inspire me. I do play with my pets. You know, I play my video games occasionally. Sometimes I read, and on a very rare occasion now, I'll pick up my bass or I'll maybe draw. You know, it depends. I mean, I have a lot to do, and you know, being the sole caretaker of the house now, it changes things. Can you tell us how you develop your characters and plots? Like I was saying, you know, intuitively come. I would say they almost come in organically. For each character, to develop my character, I usually create a Bible, and in that I have bios, I have pictures, I have astrology charts. So there's astrology charts, there's pictures, there's of course the bio. Let's see. Like this one is Ava's, so there's her school when she was in high school and her house. There's also her job. Maps, so I can have locations, stuff that you guys would never need, but you know, calendars, and other houses that will be featured in the story, and also different bios and song lyrics and everything else, so things that inspire. So that's kind of every character you know, all the main characters anyway, they usually have a book, and it sits on my desk, and that's usually how the characters get fleshed out. When I get stuck, honestly, that's the best thing for me to do if I can't write on something, is I work on those. Last year, beginning of 2020, I got stuck. I couldn't write, and so I worked on all my character bios, and then in February, I knocked it out of the park with like 80,000 words. So it kind of motivates me to write more. What comes first, plot or character? The characters. I mean, we can talk about outlines. If I'm a plotster or a pantster, I can plot all day long, and I can give you a plot that'll make sense, and I stick loosely to it. But the characters really drive the story. I mean, I wrote a scene a couple of days ago, or about a week ago, where I had no idea. I wrote it, I'm like, this doesn't even belong here. Yesterday morning, I woke up, and I'm like, oh, wait. Yeah, actually, it does. It makes total sense how it fits. So I would say the characters. The characters motivate me, and I do not write in order. I jump around because I have bits from books that, they're further along in the series. I have scenes from, after I finished Worth Waiting For, I've gone back and written scenes that will be in a different book that play out with Worth Waiting For. Even though Worth Waiting For is a totally standalone romance, there are other scenes because this is part of this whole world. Who would you cast to play your characters? Well, that's interesting because, some people, the problem for me is that when I write, I mean, you can go to Pinterest and you can find boards of people I would use as inspiration, motivation. So those are the people that I would cast. Russell Langford, he's Michael Hutchins. When I look at Ava's brother, Eric, that was Heath Ledger. He's always going to be that person. So, I mean, for me, it's not necessarily somebody that's there now going, oh, yeah, that would make the perfect guy. Joseph Morgan, when he was playing Klaus, when, Klaus had the leather and the swagger going on, he would make an awesome Nigel. But also Jack Davenport when he was in Smash, Admiral Norrington from the Pirates movies. Even though he doesn't have that bad boy rock star, when he was in Smash, there was this one scene where he's at his apartment and she comes in wearing nothing but a shirt singing Happy Birthday, aka as Marilyn Monroe. And just the intensity was just this whole Nigel vibe. So I would say if I was going to cast Nigel at this moment, it would be Joseph Morgan. He had the swagger. So, casting characters, I do kind of cast them when I write them. That's kind of the visual back to those Bibles. I like that visual. I like what I can see. And it's always interesting when a reader sends me an image going, this is my idea. Wes, if you were in my author takeover, Wes is Christopher Mason, and Mason, which is funny, Christopher Mason, and then I have a character named Mason, is Julian McNamara. So, I already have those guys in my head, and they're on my Pinterest board. So, Let's see. What do you think makes a good story? I think a good story has to have, it depends on what you're in the mood for. Let's be honest. I mean, I could sit there and say, well, a good story has to have intrigue and mystery and, it has to grab you, which is true. It really does have to grab you, whether it's a happy love story or whatever. But I think, for me as a writer and even as a reader, I want something that I'm going to connect with on an emotional level. I want to feel something for who I'm reading. I want to feel something for, the characters, for what's going on, all those little bits. I need to feel something. I don't want to just go, okay, that was a nice book. I want to feel something. I want to feel captivated. That's to me is something that's very key. Let's see. Top three novels. One is, people are going to laugh at, but it's an old school book for me, and I've always loved it, and I can't tell you how many copies of it. It was one of the first books that I actually read in a day, and that was American Star by Jackie Collins. I think that's an awesome book. It's, is it earth-shaking? No. Is it a fun read? Yes. Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. I love that book. That book is incredible. It's awesome. And, if I want to go with metaphysical, I could throw some metaphysical books in there, which is The Alchemist and The Celestine Prophecy. And if I want to go with a book that's new, I would have to say Play by Kylie Scott. And the reason being is when I read that book, and I know everybody sees, if you're in Kylie's group, they see her, they see Mal as Christopher Mason. And this is why I say I like that book, because when I read the book, I saw Jason Momoa playing the guy. Even though Jason Momoa is not blonde, there was something in the way the character acted, in the description to me, the body language and everything. I could see Jason Momoa doing it. So that's why that was a good book to me. I connected with it. It made me laugh. It made me, it grabbed me. There's a lot of books I like though. So I'm just rambling. Sorry. So what's on your current work in progress list? Well, I have 3 books currently in progress. Actually, I have 4, but one that's not going to happen for a while. So currently what I'm working on is kind of a book. I'm working on the second book in the Better to Burn Out series. And the series has actually turned in more to Nigel-centric series. And I wasn't going to do that, but I think it's more fitting because what happened last year in that 80,000 word debacle was Russell from Worth Waiting For, who was like this little bitty character in there, decided that he really liked Ava, Nigel's wife. And 80,000 words later, I really enjoyed writing them. And I was going through a journey at that point because my husband was ill and I didn't know what was going on. And about 3 months before he passed, I started writing some stuff about Ava losing her husband, and her husband was Russell. Now, whether that actually plays out or not, I don't know. But it won't play out in this book that I'm working on. But so I liked writing them. I enjoyed writing them. And so that's what I'm working on. I'm working on Ava and Russell's story, how they meet, how they get together, and I'm also working on Nigel's story. And the other thing that I'm working on is I'm taking my short story, Immortal Love, which is a vampire story, and I won the Seduction Award for it, Vicious Seduction Award. I'm turning that into a longer length novel. So that's going to be more of the paranormal type stuff. So there's that, and then there's another book that is just kind of a pet project that I don't think will actually be out for many years, and that's my choice because I just feel it. I have to work on getting the other books out in the series, the Better to Burn Out series. Describe your writing space. Well, actually, what you see behind you is in my office. And then I'm going to turn this just slightly. So you're looking at my writing space. This is it. This is it. Yep, that's my writing space. So, yep, I write on a Mac because, yes, sorry I'm doing that to you guys. But it's easy. It works with my phone. It's very easy to be able to market things and send everything back because everything's very friendly. What time of day do you usually write? Well, we kind of covered that already. I write at night typically. Unless I am really inspired, then I can write the whole freaking day. How do you get in the mood to write a scene? Usually music, or if I need something visual, I can look. There's days when I can look at a picture and be totally inspired and and just write from that. There's a picture, and I know some people are gonna be a little miffed, but there was a picture of Johnny Depp. And I took that picture and I saw the emotion in it, and I was able to write a whole scene that was not, it wasn't necessarily a sweet loving scene, but it was a scene. And that's the thing. I can look at a visual image of somebody and write it. I was watching videos one day and a whole scene played in my head of Ava sitting down with her daughter and watching videos of, lack of a better way to say it, her husband and the kid's father. So there's things that can elicit that response to get you in the mood to write. I used to listen to nothing but soundtracks. Now I listen to, everybody's got a Spotify playlist. So there's many things that can get me in the mood to write. Who's your favorite character you've written? That's tough. Because I love Wes. Wes is awesome. Wes is a book boyfriend that every girl should want. I like Mason. Mason's dark and brooding, and you love to hate him. Same thing with Nigel. Russell's like Wes. Russell's he's the foil to Nigel. So I can't say that I have one character that I really, really just, oh yes, I loved writing them, because I love writing them all, because they're all, dare I say, a piece of me. They're all a creation. So I like them all. I don't have a favorite. So, If you could choose one character you've written to spend the day with, would it be, who would it with? Would it be him, her? And what would you plan for your day together? Okay, well, that's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. Nigel's out. Sorry, I know some people are going to be like, Nigel, no, no, no. I would say either Wes or Russell, and knowing what I know, I would say Russell. Russell's mature. He's a singer. Well, Wes is a singer too, but he's a little more mature, but he's got this really just, sensual quality to him. So yeah, I would say Russell. And where would I go? I don't know. I think Russell, you could do a lot of things with. Maybe start with dinner, maybe go dancing. Watching him dance would be, dancing with him would be nice. So yeah, Russell. Yeah, I guess I know somebody's gonna be like, well, there's your favorite. No, but yeah, Russell. I mean, see where the day would take you. So let's see. Who is your favorite character, the one who sticks with you through the years? Well, if we're going to go with that question, the one that's going to stick with me, the one that has stuck with me for years would be Nigel. Nigel and John. Those two characters, Nigel, John, Ava, Eric, those characters have been around since 1988. And Nigel was always just a side character. And it's funny because people that used to read it back then were just like, I hate him. And he wasn't even as bad as what I made him out to be in my days. So there you go. What advice do you have for new and inspiring writers? Don't put so much pressure on yourself about perfection. That was one of the hardest things I had to learn. That's why it took me 30 years to actually publish. I published the 2 short stories in 2010, and they were completely out of my wheelhouse. I liked vampires, and I decided, you know what? I can do this. I can write these 2 short stories. I was only going to write one, and then the inspiration came for the other one. And I didn't get caught in perfection. I just wrote it. With that 30-year story, I kept getting caught in perfection. And, looking back, I wish I would have just gone for it. What's the worst thing that could happen? My book gets panned? Okay. And the other big caveat to this, besides editing and covers and all that, that's all stuff that anybody's going to tell you, and I agree. I do agree now, looking at what I have sitting on my desk. Write because you enjoy it, write because you love it, not because you're going to be a blockbuster author. Write what you're passionate about, write what you know, write what is in your heart, and the words are there for you. If you embrace what you feel and put it on the paper, it can be something beautiful and something that you can be proud of. And you just have to, you have to love what you're doing. I mean, it goes with anything. I remember I got a bass guitar in high school and I wanted to play bass, and I love playing bass, don't get me wrong. And my stepdaughter got a bass when she was 16. I had nothing to do with that. But she got a bass, and she's like, I'm going to be in a band. And all I said to her was, is this something you're passionate about? And she's like, well, I like playing, and I'm going to be a big star, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay. But follow your passion. That's what I'm going to say. And that's what I told her. You need to follow your passion. Embrace your passion. If your passion is writing, then by all means do it. And do it and enjoy it and share it. And be careful with who you share it with so nobody steals it, because plagiarism in the industry is horrendous. So protect yourself. But do it. Describe the perfect man or woman. That could form many ways. And considering I lost my hubby, he was no way perfection. My hubby was not perfect at all, but he was my hubby. So, that's him. And at a certain point, he had long hair, and he was overweight, and he had a beard, and sometimes his beard was really long. But you know what? My idea of perfection is somebody that loves and cares me and respects me for who I am, and loves me for my faults and accepts me. So I guess that's my idea of perfection, because ultimately perfection doesn't really exist, except in books. Then we have the perfect book boyfriend. What am I reading now? I just finished Sasha's False Start. Last night I was actually rereading what I'm working on. I tend not to read when I'm writing because I don't want to borrow from anybody else's ideas or their wording or phrasing or anything of that nature. What was your dream job when you were younger? When I was younger, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be Shirley MacLaine, and ultimately I kind of did because I ended up reading cards. I also wanted to be a bass player, so and a dancer. So there was many things I wanted to do in the entertainment industry when I was a kid. That was something that I just longed for. And then when I got in high school, I wanted to be a bassist. And after high school, I got to be in a band, and I got to be a bass player, and I got to be a backup singer. So those were kind of cool. And then in my 30s, I got to work on a television show, and I got to be an extra on a couple of movies. And so I've done some things that I've had my dream jobs, and I'm still, the podcasting thing's kind of turning into a dream job. Even being a disc jockey, I never thought about it, but it was kind of a fun dream. Not that I wanted to do it at first, but it turned into that. You're stranded on a remote island and can only take 3 people with you. Who are you taking and why? Well, that's just a freaking 3 people. 3 people. And see, I got people that might watch this and go, well, you didn't pick me. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to say. I mean, because I could sit here and name somebody. I could name, I can name friends. I can name celebrities. But the truth is, who do you want to take? Because ultimately, if you're stranded on this island, if you're stranded, how long are you going to be stranded there for? And how long can you tolerate these people? No offense to anybody I know or anything. I'm just thinking realistically. I mean, my husband and I were together 24/7 for quite a while, and we made it through, but I could not have done that with a lot of people I know. So, I think I'm not going to answer this because I really can't say who I would take. I've been living by myself for the last 10 months, and yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. So it's not that I don't like people, because I do, but I don't want to single out anybody and somebody say, well, you didn't pick me. So I don't know. I mean, I guess whoever would come would come. I can't really pick anybody. So sorry. List 5 of your favorite items. 5 of my favorite items. Okay. Let's see. I guess my computer, because I'm always on my computer. My phone, because I can talk to my friends. Plus, I can check the internet. There's a necklace I have that my husband gave me. Well, I found in my husband's jewelry box, and I think he made it. So, actually, do I have it in my pocket? Yeah, I do, actually. Not that you needed to see it, but it is a jasper stone. Leopard jasper. So I found that in his jewelry box. It was hanging out of his jewelry box one day right after he passed. And he never wore it, so I think it was meant for me to find. So that's 3. My tarot cards. And because I'm not going to say my pets because they're not things. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Maybe, I don't know. It's a tough one. Maybe pen and paper, in case, you run out of electronic, because, oh no, you're not on a desert island. This is just 5 things. So, all right. You write fantastic sex scenes and orgasms. Inquiring minds want to know, have you ever experienced an earth-shattering orgasm yourself? I'm not going to plead the 5th. Amazingly enough. There was, and I'll be honest, there was the toy that everybody was talking about on the internet, and somebody had written an Amazon review that had made the rounds on Facebook. And so I mentioned it to my husband, and I read the review to him, and he's like, "Hey, you need one of those." I'm like, "All right." And yeah, so he bought it for my birthday. What a birthday gift that was. So yeah, that if you know what toy I'm talking about, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I mean, there's been some intense scenes in my life, intense things that have brought that to mind. But yeah, that toy is, yeah. Anyway, so I didn't skip it, but so yeah, maybe that's the that's the fifth favorite thing. Because yeah, that does give some bang for the buck anyway. But where can the readers stalk you? Well, I've included all the links in what they're saying, but if you want to stalk me, you can go to DM Needom, which is N-E-E, D as in David, O as in Oscar, M as in Meyer.com. And there you can find all my links. You can find stuff for the podcast. You can find stuff for my tarot stuff. You can find snippets in my blog for the book. You can find me on TikTok, and that's usually where, and Instagram, and that's usually where I do live reads or recorded readings. And then we have the this or that portion. So I have 3 special questions that were added, but I will go ahead and answer all of them too. So, beard or clean shaven? You know, I never thought I would date a man with a beard, but I was married to a guy with a beard, and like I said, the beard got crazy at times. But, you know, ultimately it really didn't matter. So I'm going to be a true Libra here and say it doesn't matter. Dress or pants? It's actually more dress or shorts. Most of the time I will end up in shorts. As soon as it gets warm enough, we hit 55, I'm in shorts. In the house, I'm running around in shorts. I do like dresses, and I wore a dress yesterday. It was like 80 degrees. So dresses and shorts, both of them. Pants, not so much. I know that was not an option. So this or that, I'm not playing very well. Like I said, I'm tired. Comedy or drama? I tend to skew drama. I like drama. I like watching a story unfold. Comedy's great, but drama, you can tell a story. It's just kind of like, you know, my books are a saga. It's kind of like a soap opera. Coffee or tea? Tea all the way. Many types of tea. Listening to music or reading a book. Listening to music. While I like reading, listening to music can take you to a moment in time. It can move you. It can, not that a book can't, because it can, but music can be very personal to you. You know, such as you can hear a song and it can take you back to that exact moment. So, listening to music. Mountains or beach? Beach. Not, and here's the funny thing you can laugh about, because I burn and I don't like to go outside much, but I like having my feet in the sand and I like hearing the water. I feel very connected when I'm there. Mountains are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but piercing or tattoos? Well, considering I now sport a tat on my arm, and I have several piercings, and I have 3 in one side and 2 on the other on my ears, I'm gonna have to say the Libra thing again, both, because I have both. So, dog or cat? Same thing. I got a dog and a cat, and they love each other, and I love them, and so once again, Libra thing. Phone call or text? Phone call. Texting's fine. It's okay, but I prefer to talk on the phone. I'm old school when it comes to that. Big party or small gathering? Small gathering. I much prefer a small gathering, because being at a big party, even small gatherings sometimes, but being at a big party, unless you're there for a reason to schmooze, it can be very lonely. It's like you're in a big room and you're all alone. Even though there's a bunch of people, you're still all alone. So unless you have a purpose to schmooze, I would say small gathering. Laundry or dishes? And that's Chloe. Speaking of cat, what are you doing? Big kitty stretch. Anyway, laundry or dishes? I would say laundry. Dishes can just, you know. What are you doing? She's biting my hair. Laundry, I think it's a little bit easier. Cursive or print? I tend to write both. I tend to slip into cursive and print at the same time when I'm writing longhand now. 2 top rock stars that I like. That was the way it was put at me at the time. So I think at the time I picked Michael Hutchence and trying to think of who else I picked. Michael Hutchence and oh yeah, John Taylor. You know, I wasn't really a big Michael Hutchence fan when I was younger, but I would say Michael Hutchence. Even though I know he's not here anymore, there's something charismatic about him. Hobbies, this or that. Tarot reading or wax making. I would say tarot reading. I enjoy making wax. It's fun, but you end up with something that just kind of grows and takes up space, and you don't really have a lot of use for it because you can only melt so much wax. Favorite foods, Chinese food or Mexican? I would say I would skew more Chinese, even though I love Mexican. I would say Chinese, but there is, you know, some Italian I like. So I guess that's it. It's 40 minutes. I'm sorry I rambled on so long. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I should most likely answer just writing it down, but I'm really tired and this was easier to do, I think. So anyway, take care, and thanks for getting to know me, and I hope you pick up Love is Worth Waiting For, because that's the romance thing. And if you want something dark and gritty, then that would be my Days with the Dark Muse, and I hopefully will have Ava and Russell's Unnamed Story out. Hopefully by September. That's when I'm shooting for, but I have to finish writing it, and I have to have it to the editor by July, and to my ARC readers, which if you want to be an ARC reader, there's a place to sign up for that. But yeah, so that should be out to my ARC readers in June, and July to the editor. So take care, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.